Yeah, the people know that I did the investigation and covering how they shoplifted 2,000 by naming black folks felons in Florida who were, guilty of voting while black. 2004, we saw it happen again, not only in Ohio, New Mexico, everywhere else. And so everyone says, are they going to steal in 2008? No, they aren't. They've already stolen it. And this is what Kennedy and I are uncovering right now. What we're seeing is they are massively cleaning out, purging out, wiping out voter registrations right now. We've talked about the game of caging. I'm not going to go through that whole business right now, but I did want to tell you it's happening right now. I know that a lot of people read that article in the New York Times or, read the reflections of about how in a couple precincts in Harlem, you had zero vote for Obama during Super Tuesday. Man, that ain't nothing. No one's it wasn't a couple precincts in New York City. It was nationwide. This is not, and it's not.
Why was it only a big deal then in New York City?
Where is the New York Times? In other words, what happened was that first of all,
there's no other newspaper that could report on this stuff?
You know how difficult it is? They actually have to just look it up at the Elections Assistance Commission website, and you will find, if you go to the Secretaries of State, as I've done, and go to the official numbers, you will find hundreds of precincts throughout America where there are thousands of people who voted, but none chose a president. They didn't choose him on Super Tuesday. They didn't choose him in 2004.
So what are you saying? I mean, it could just be there were stupid voters or people voting while drunk or something.
Well, it's very interesting because these are almost all, as we saw in New York, in minority precincts. And the number one, the most indecisive group is our Native Americans. If you go to reservations, you will find there are many precincts where Native Americans will drive all the way to the precinct. These are giant areas. They'll drive to the precinct. They'll wait in line. They'll go in the voting booth and say, "Nah, forget it." At least that's what the machines say, right?
Well, what is it about
9 out of 10 Indian voters in the West, in many precincts, did not choose a president of the United States in 2004. They did not choose a president of the United States. They waited in line and voted.
Okay, Greg, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Hold on. What difference does it make to the Republicans? And I'm assuming you're saying that the Republicans are the ones that are orchestrating this. What difference does it make to them whether someone votes in a primary?
Because what they're doing is the systems are basically they're doing the test run on you, baby. They're just not whether their systems work or that is don't work. In other words, we don't give Native Americans blankets with smallpox anymore. We give them broken Shuptronic lever machines. It's not, by the way, the big steal for those of you who are worried about electronic voting, that ain't nothing. Because the big steal is with the punch cards and the lever machines and everything else. And the computers, they don't change your vote. They just unplug the machine. Oops, it didn't record. Oh, gee, it didn't record. What can we do? That's what happened in New York. It just doesn't record.
Okay, so you're coming out with something with Bobby Kennedy.
Yes,
Tell us more about that.
So here's what's going on. So to begin with, we're going to give you the appetizer of the coming coup d'etat. First, we have a DVD out now, The Theft of the Election, 2008. It's called Election Files, Theft of the Election. And I've taken some of the key material from my BBC investigations, material with Bobby Kennedy on camera. David Iglesias, the fired prosecutor, says, I wasn't fired because of political problems. I was fired because I wouldn't help fix the election. That's what he's telling me on camera, okay? We got the information here. It has enough Palast weird funniness to at least make you laugh through the electoral terror. And the idea, what we're trying to do is actually make this a community-funded project rather than go to big fat cats, high rollers, foundations, and the rest, or certainly corporate America, where we would be beholden. Rather, we're asking readers, listeners, people who watch Greg Palast stuff on the net or on BBC and listen to Air America to say, okay, it'll be a people's investigation. You make a tax-deductible donation to the Palast Investigative Fund, which is a not-for-profit foundation, and this will fund the team of investigators. By the way, not one penny goes to Bobby Kennedy. not one penny goes to Greg Palast. It all goes to staffing and operations and planes and all the rest. Yeah.
Planes, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, tell us what the operation is going to look like, unless it's top secret.
You got to go. Well, we're not going to give away everything, but we got to go on the ground in places like New Mexico, Arizona, where they are stealing the election in front of our eyes. They're not going to steal it. They have stolen it. Now we can.
No, hold on. Back up. How can you say past tense about something that has not happened?
See, that's the trick. They're waiting. They're getting people all nervous about what's going to happen on election day. Then it's too late. You have to understand, people's registrations are being drained off the list as we speak by the hundreds of thousands. It's over 1 million right now. There were 1 million Democrats who showed up on Super Tuesday and didn't find their names on the registries. And we didn't have anyone screaming about that. This is big-time serious stuff. Now, that's what we're looking at. How did that happen? What's the system behind it? Who's behind it? And we don't want to name anyone, Mr. Rove. But we will be naming names. We are, and the usual methods that we use.
So he basically left.
I have the undercover operations for mainstream media in America. Of course, I do it for mainstream of Britain, BBC.
There you go.
But we will be undercover. We will be doing our stuff of getting inside the operations, getting the disks, getting the computer files, getting the whistleblowers. That's how we operate. And to do that type of investigating, I think Rupert Murdoch isn't exactly going to write the check for us. So we're asking people to participate. You can all become producers, put in a few bucks and we'll name you as a producer. We'd like to have, instead of 2 big fat moguls, with their 18th trophy wife back us, what we'd like to see is a list of 400 producers on there.
Okay, so
that's what we want to do.
So what you're saying is it's not just Diebold or ES&S that we need to be concerned about. How are they going to steal the election? Let's go through the specific things.
I'll give you just some. I'll just give you some of it. Well,
okay.
Besides the voting machine makers, which you did, they are dangerous little critters. It's not safe to go back in the voting booth. The sharks are still there. But even worse, what's happening is we talked about caging, in which the Republican Party has been, and they're continuing the game. They're sending out thousands and thousands and thousands of letters to new voters. Hello, new voter, we love you. Now, they know that the black students who are getting these letters don't love them, okay? But they know that if they send a letter to them in August, that the letter will come back undeliverable. Those voters are getting challenged. Those voters are getting knocked off. Hispanic voters, they're saying that they cannot prove their citizenship, okay, just because their name is Juan Gonzalez. They can't prove their citizenship. So they're being challenged under a provision of the 2006 provision of George Bush's Help America Vote Act. Now remember, when George Bush tells us he's going to help us vote, we have to be a little bit cautious. Now, Mr. Kennedy, who is a dean at the law school at Pace University, has some legal questions about these operations, like maybe they should be cuffed and read their rights, the guys that are doing this. And this is a great chance. You can sense a personal thing here for Bobby, because when his father was Attorney General, he actually worked to help people get their vote. Now we have a Justice Department which is working to stop people getting their vote. And we're going to take this on full frontal. That's what we're doing.
Right, and Bobby did an unbelievably legalistic point-by-point argument with over 200 footnotes on the 2004 election and how Ohio was stolen.
Yep.
In Rolling Stone. I think when did it come out?
But that's the problem. It came out in 2006.
Right.
And the problem with
and
that
he
is
was vilified for it.
We want to come out with our report on the theft of the 2008 election before November, because if we come out before, maybe.
Love
it's
it.
like the little, like putting a little tag on at the store if you try to walk